Thank you for watching the Community Spotlight. It's a pleasure to have you tuning into the program today. I have a wonderful guest here in the studio with me. We have ROSELYN HARPER from State Farm.
All right.
Yes, and we're going to get a little bit into her background as an entrepreneur, what made her decide to be a State Farm agent, what's going on with State Farm, and various types of products that you guys might need to be familiar with. So ROSELYN, how are you this evening?
I am fantastic. So excited to be here to you.
Well, I appreciate you coming out this evening. So let's start with your background. Give us a little bit about who you are.
All right. That's always an interesting question because I continue to define that, right?
Yep.
But, from Chester, Pennsylvania, and I love, where I'm from because just grew up in the inner city, so around just a lot of, people that's aspiring to do different things. And one of the things that always stick out to me is, as I was growing up, I always wanted to do things different, right? Always said to myself, I wonder what it would be like to be a millionaire, or I wonder what it would be like to be an entrepreneur, and different things like that. So I think it's my curiosity as I was growing up that really allowed me to experience different things.
Okay.
So,
all right. So did you do other ventures before you decided to open a State Farm agency?
Absolutely. I moved to the Maryland, D.C. area where I spent about 10 years as a branch manager for Chevy Chase Bank in the banking arena. Mm-hmm. Enjoyed it totally. Knew I wanted, though, to learn a different part of banking. So moved to the Charlotte area and went into the mutual funds, worked for Vanguard for about 7 years. And I said, wow, so I love finance. I wanted to top it off with insurance, though. So the different side of it, And then that's when I was recruited by State Farm and said, wow, I think this will be the perfect fit for me. So I have that investment side, the banking side, and then the insurance side.
Yeah, many people don't know that State Farm is more than insurance. I mean, when you think of State Farm, you just think of insurance, right?
Absolutely, and I always say we have the best kept secret, because when you come into my office, it's almost like when you go into a Walmart or a Target, depending on which one you like, right? They really seek to serve you with a variety, and then that's what we do at State Farm. So of course the home and the auto, but there's so many more products and services that we offer, and I'm excited to be here to talk about them.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get into the variety that they offer. Very unique. Let's talk a little bit about State Farm, however. What's so special about this company? There's so many insurance companies, a lot of big names out there, brand names, little names. What's so special about State Farm?
I love the neighborly feel, like a good neighbor. State Farm is there. That's to me, they not only say that, but they believe that. And so when you look around and you see an agent on every corner, we're not just doing things online, but we want to make sure that someone is there to support you, to answer your questions. For those who still want to come into an office, we're there to serve those. So that neighborly feel, coupled with the financial strength that State Farm has. So you want to be involved, particularly these days, you want to be involved with a company who has the financial backing. I mean, when you go through storms and tornadoes and all of that, even on the homeowner side of it, I mean, a lot of companies go out of business pretty easily. So that financial stability is huge with me.
I think this customer service factor is a good thing, because I know someone that dealt with online, for example, auto insurance company, and there's nothing like having your agent that you can pick up the phone and talk to versus calling some company. They just specialize in that particular area. They have someone in there that supposedly knows the laws of 27 states.
That's right.
Knowing good and well they can't do that. I've actually saw someone getting a difficulty dealing with a mega company that didn't have an office here, and they had the auto insurance there, and the situation came up, and when they spoke to that person on the phone, they gave them misinformation. It wasn't even accurate. So to be able to come in and talk to your agent and say, hey, there's some things about this policy I don't understand. Can you just go ahead and tell me to sit down and have that one-on-one? I've got a claims issue. Can you assist me with that? I think it's totally different than just picking up the phone, calling someone in another state.
Oh man, and the role of an agent though. And so, I mean, you talked about the service side of it, and to me it's huge. You have, particularly I think about the elderly, who want to come in and they want you to sit down and they want you to explain things, and rightfully so. And then you have the teens. I know when I'm providing auto insurance for our teenagers, we're going to have a conversation about texting and driving, right?
Yes.
We're going to watch videos about making sure that you keep your focus. And so I partner with parents to make sure that the teens are driving as safely as they can, and talk about what happens when you get a ticket or you're in an accident. That's going to drive your parents' insurance up sky high. And so it's things like that, to me, that's critical. But most importantly, you need to understand what you have and what you don't have.
And you know, unfortunately, there's so many people out here that don't understand that.
Oh my goodness.
And that's why you need to sit down with the agent and say, hey, what type of coverage is this?
Absolutely.
You know, so you can understand, am I covered if I hit someone that doesn't have insurance, or they hit me, or do I have collision on here if I get in an accident? What happens if a tree limb falls down and hits my car?
That's exactly
You know,
right.
it goes past just liability. There's so many different features. Can you kind of just break down a car insurance policy and the different features that's available?
Absolutely, I would love to. And let's start with the state minimums. And so when you look on your policy and you think about your limits, 30, 60, that's the state minimums. A lot of people want that only so that they can pay a lower premium. I get it, and it's okay for some people. But do you know what that means? Do you know that that $30,000 per person means that if I go to the hospital and it's more than that $30,000, I'm going to be responsible for the rest. They can garnish my wages, right? So understand the coverages that you have. Understand what that means, and understand the risk that you may have as a result of those coverages. And I make sure I go through it and say, do you know what that means? You know, of course, I like to see the higher coverages, because then you're protecting yourself a little better. But if you're not having those conversations, you're not given a choice, you're not given an option. You're just thinking that, hey, I'm covered. And then one day, if you're in an at-fault accident and someone says, I now have about $60,000 worth of bills and your coverage limit is $30,000, you're going to be liable for the rest. And the first thing you're going to say is, I didn't know that.
I want to talk about the importance of collision for just one moment. I sold insurance years ago when I was in my early 20s for one of these mega companies, similar to State Farm. And I remember I had a lady come in, and I always offered all the coverages, you know, and she rejected collision. And she only took liability. Then she left out, got in a car accident, came back a week later and said, I asked for that collision. I said, no, you did not. Because I know what my routine was. I was about 22 years old.
Yeah.
I know what my routine was with every customer to make sure they fully understood all the coverages. And so you have some people out there say, hey, like you said, lower premium, I'm just going to go at liability.
That's right.
Is there any time where liability is good, where you just only have liability, or should you always have collision, comprehensive, things of that nature?
I am an advocate for full coverage. I'm an advocate for full coverage. You want to be fully covered. That's what full coverage is, right? Fully covered. There are times, of course, when individuals want liability, and I'm like you. I tell my staff, if someone wants liability only, we're going to have that conversation. Do you know what that means? Do you know that you don't have collision coverage, right? We document it in notes because it's serious. Our conversation with you is serious. But not only that, you know what we find a lot of times, we talk about rental coverage, right? Meaning that if your car is in an accident, you want to be able to rent a vehicle. Sometimes you don't want to pay that extra premium to have rental car coverage. You regret it though when you're in the accident. And so when someone flatly declines to have rental, I'm saying let's document that. Let's document that we had this conversation. But because, to your point, they're quick to call and say, I thought I had rental. You know, no. And it's only about $2 extra a month. You know, so we make sure, you talked about systems, we make sure we go over your coverages. We make sure we offer all the things that are included. Roadside assistance, rental coverage, comp and collision, low deductibles. Because if you crack your windshield, you don't want to have to pay $1,000 to get that fixed, right? Because you're not going to use your benefit. The windshield is most times less than $1,000.
What's the difference between underinsured and uninsured motorist coverage?
So if someone has limits of $30,000 and it's not enough to protect you, or it's not enough to replace your vehicle, right? They're underinsured. They are not providing enough insurance. And uninsured is somebody hit you and they're at fault and they have no insurance at all.
Maybe like a hit and run too, where you can't catch the person.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's important to know those things, and it's important to really know what your coverage provides.
Do you recommend towing on there also?
Absolutely, I really
MedPay.
do. And MedPay.
So we basically just broke down that, you know, MedPay, they may help with some medical bills. And I think that's very important, because when I was in the industry, lots of times the agents really didn't want you to offer all the services, because they were trying to keep their, you know, the thing down with people calling their claims ratio.
Oh, okay.
They wanted to keep that down. So they would actually suggest to us not to offer all the services, but you know, you have to do that. Everyone needs to know that these are available, and for pennies, they can add that to the policy.
For pennies.
So when you say full coverage, there's different definitions of full coverage, but your definition is everything that we offer with this particular policy, correct?
Absolutely. Now, and I always say, if you have AAA, maybe you don't need roadside assistance. As long as you're covered, that's fine. Asking those questions, though, are
Very
important. You know, so I need to know what it is you have, and then be able to determine what it is you may need. Make those suggestions to you, and then you know, make the ultimate decision. But just like rental cars, so if you have 4 extra cars in your driveway and you may not need it, you may not need rental coverage. But if you only have 1 and you're dependent on that car to get to work,
you definitely need rental coverage.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about homeowners insurance and renters, especially renters, because everybody that's renting needs it, and a lot of people don't have it. So let's start with homeowners first. Most people are familiar with that.
Yeah, so homeowners insurance. Homeowners insurance is very important, right? And we know if you have a lien holder, they're going to require it, because they're funding your home for you. If something happens to it, they're going to want to be reimbursed, rightfully so. If your home is paid off and it's not mandatory that you have it, come on, can you imagine a tragedy happening and you're standing out there saying, I don't know what to do here? You know
what's so funny is I had a neighbor whose house burnt down, and he was so depressed and distraught and everything. And I seen them come there and pretty much give him a brand new house. You know, they put that house back better than it was before. He was able to add some additional stuff because it was in the budget.
That's right.
And I looked at him, he was so upset. He was talking about moving. And I looked at him and I said, do you understand you have a brand new house?
That's right. That's right.
All of a sudden, everything changed. He stayed in that house, and he's still there, and he loves his home. The whole mindset changed. Dude, you have a brand new house.
That's exactly right.
Because you had insurance. When
you find people who ever had to use a claim, they will tell you they totally get paying a premium every month. You know, it's so many success stories that come as a result of it, and I love to hear it. One thing about State Farm, they were there when I needed them the most. You know, it's nothing like being an agent. You have an unfortunate situation, right? House burn down or whatever, and I'm there with a check to help you, to support you. That makes my job, you know, just so miraculous as far as I'm concerned. We're there to support you, and that's another difference between online and having a personal agent, right?
I mean, online and personal agent, I mean, there's really no comparison when it comes to that. So let's touch base on this famous renters insurance that most people seem not to want to have, but they need.
They need.
Yes.
They need rental insurance. You want to make sure that your contents are covered. And you know something, so we're approaching the holidays, right? And you know, unfortunately, as we shop for our presents, people rob cars and all that kind of stuff. Just think about your contents are covered if you have renter insurance. Those gifts that you buy are your contents. Your contents in your vehicles are covered. You know, but not only that, you want to make sure that what you paid your hard-earned money for that's in your apartment are covered. You want that stuff covered.
So we know if someone comes in and they steals, you know, that's covered under the insurance. What are some circumstances that most folks wouldn't think of that renter's insurance would cover?
So let's talk about sewer backup, right? We don't even want to think about that, right?
No.
But it happens, right? It's all of this stuff that's coming in your apartment, and you're
and it's exactly
what in the world am I gonna stuff, right?
Sewer backup in your house, in your apartment.
It's crazy. Or an explosion. I mean, you know, you're cooking and there's an explosion and your stuff is damaged. We had one where air conditioning leaked and the couple was gone all week and it was just all molded. You know, can you imagine your mattress is soaking wet because of an air conditioning leak? It's all molded. You want that replaced, right? I mean, it's just, your things are covered and you want them to be covered.
And then renter's insurance is just so affordable, it's ridiculous.
I mean, come on. So if you're only insuring about, let's say on average, $30,000 in contents, you're looking between $8 and $10 a month.
I mean, that's nothing. That's absolutely nothing.
For peace of mind.
And for people to go without that, you know, that's something that I don't understand. So I'm hoping that some folks will get educated today. If they don't have renter's insurance, they'll pick it up because life happens. That's why we have insurance.
Yes! Life happens. You know, another thing that I want to mention is personal articles policy. So we're on renter's insurance. If your husband paid, just say $5,000 for your wedding set, right? And his as well. Now, renter insurance is only going to cover a certain amount of your contents. And so we have what you call a personal articles policy, where you want to insure your expensive jewelry, your art collection, your gun collection, things like that, your fur coat. And I know you have about 10 of them, Atia, right?
That sounds nice.
You know, again, you want to make sure those things are covered. I'm talking about a very inexpensive policy, and it's not considered a claim. So if I have a personal articles policy and I have my jewelry covered because I've spent a lot, you know, we spend a lot of money on our jewelry. You want those on a separate policy called personal articles policy. And it's, you know, it's a monthly premium, but at least if it lost or something happened, we even have it where it says mysteriously disappear. You know, it's covered. And so you want to make sure you're talking to your agent about all of those things that you can have in place so that you can continue to have peace of mind.
So how does a person keep a record, for example, like if they had a renter's policy and it covered $30,000, they've got a homeowner's, it covers more than that. Do they videotape what's in their house? Do they take pictures? Do they save receipts? Or is none of this required?
None of it's required.
It's just their
None
word.
of it's required.
State Farm just, or an insurance company, you trust their word.
Yep. So if you call and you file a claim and you say, my bid was damaged, or somebody came in and, you know, I had a burglary, everything's investigated. We have claim investigators who's going to call and ask you questions and things like that and document what you say. But yeah, we don't require receipts.
Wow. So if they have like 3 flat screen TVs, we don't need receipts for that. Okay, well that's
now I
definitely good to know.
I do want everyone to keep an inventory of what you have in your house. You know, that's only for your records, and I think that's just kind of being thorough, making sure that you are aware. So if someone did break in, you're not trying to really remember, but it's all documented there because that's a stressful moment.
Let's move on to health insurance. What are you guys offering, or what's the importance of having health insurance? And now it's mandatory, and you know, we're hearing these rumors that we can only buy insurance from certain companies, and this may not be the case. How are you guys dealing with this?
Well, I tell you, I'm pretty excited right now that we have affordable health care. If you come in and you get a quote on individual medical insurance, our quotes really blow my mind compared to the quotes that people are getting online and all of that. My daughters have individual medical insurance through State Farm, and it's a pretty reasonable premium. My daughter the oldest is 32, and she's paying like $112 a month. I mean, she's pretty healthy. Oh yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, a lot of people right now are under the impression with the changes in the Affordable Health Care Act that you can only buy insurance from certain sources. But this is not the case. Is this a rumor?
No, I don't think you can only buy. No, absolutely not. You can walk into a State Farm agency and say you want individual medical insurance. We're going to do a quote for you and tell you what that insurance is. Now, I do say let's get it sooner rather than later.
Yes.
You know, let's make sure. So while the premiums are still low, I can't predict what's going to happen in the future. Right, come January 1st, there may be some changes, right?
Let's hurry get locked in.
Let's get that stuff locked in while it's still, to me, so affordable. Yeah, so yeah, the misconception is that you can only buy it through Blue Cross Blue Shield. That's not the case. I mean, there are providers who, of course, we want to make sure that everyone's able to get it. So there's a couple of providers, but those who offer health insurance, you can still get it through those individuals.
Well, I'm glad you clarified that today because there's a lot of confusion going on with that. And so now let's move on to life insurance.
Oh.
There's several different types of life insurance. A lot of people are sleeping on life insurance. Some people just think, hey, all I need it for is burial. Give me a little $10,000 policy. But there's multiple uses. So can we give a summary of that?
You touch on my passion when we talk about life insurance. It is just so incredible. And so coming from the investment arena into the health insurance arena, I say to myself, where in the heck, I wish I had known about this years ago. We can't afford not to have life insurance. We absolutely cannot afford it. But there are so many benefits and advantages to it. And so while it is intended to be a death benefit to help you at your final point in life, as we transition, there are also investment opportunities because you talk about it being tax-free.
Let's kind of talk about that. I know life insurance was used as money laundering shelters back in the day because of this investment opportunity that you're talking about here. It's a lot of people that don't fully understand that. So can you break it down in layman's terms?
Absolutely. That's what I love to do. And so when you think about let's talk about the buckets, right? And you talk about tax-free money. You talk about tax-deferred money. And then you talk about taxable money, right? Our paychecks and things like that. Life insurance, when you put money into a life insurance policy, you're not taxed on it. You're not taxed. So if I have, let's say, a whole life policy, I wanted to surrender it. Whatever cash I accumulated in it, I needed to surrender that cash. I'm not taxed on that. If I have a universal life.
Are you serious? When you take it out?
No penalty. So
wait a minute.
Coming from the investment arena
might be
to this
teaching
arena.
all of us something here today. So you saying you could put the money in tax-free?
Tax-free.
And you could pull it out tax-free?
Yeah, I mean, you're putting it in with your pay, so it's not going in before tax. It's not going in pre-tax like your 401k. No, so if you've already essentially paid taxes on that money. But I'm saying, you know how in the investment world, you're going to pay, if it's tax-deferred, you're going to pay taxes on that money as you take it out. Well, in life insurance,
it doesn't happen.
No. And so, and there are so many different types, right? And so there's whole life, there's term, and then there's also guaranteed return of premium term insurance, where every dime that you put in, you get back.
I think everybody needs that guaranteed return of premium.
I'm telling you. So with my daughters, I have guaranteed return of premium on them. It's a 20-year policy. I got the 20-year term. God forbid, I hope nothing happens to my babies, but if so, okay, I'm going to get the face value of that, right? In our case, $300,000, so that it can help with their children, setting them up for college and things like that, things that my daughter would have wanted done with her daughter. We have that set aside. But I know that they'll live 20 years and more. So at the end of 20 years, I get every single dime
it's
that I
almost
put
like you're
in that
saving
policy.
your money when you put return the premium on there.
There is a double benefit. There is a double benefit. It is. And universal life, you can dump a whole lot of money into it. You're talking about guaranteed investment options, right? So in the stock market, you can never use the word guarantee, right? But you're getting a guaranteed return on your money.
I really like term
policies.
insurance. I think a lot of people should have term, and I love whole life. Also, right now I've got some whole life with my daughters, and I'm actually set it up. They could use it as a retirement stream of income. That's why people really need to understand the uses. I got it while they were young. The younger the better, but you need it. Get it as fast as possible.
Yes.
When they get older, I'm going to let them take over the payments, when they become responsible.
That's right.
And all of a sudden they're going to have this big lump sum of cash there waiting on them to pull out.
That's exactly right.
So what happens when you pull the cash out? Does the face value disappear, or is it still there?
No. So say, for example, you had a $50,000 whole life policy, right? About $20,000 accumulated in that whole life policy. You take the $20,000 out. Now, if it's whole life, you're actually taking a loan against it. You're taking it, you're taking a loan against whatever the cash value amount is, in hopes that you'll pay it back. But if you don't pay it back, it's just going to be subtracted from that $50,000. So you're going to end up with $20,000 life policy.
I think that makes sense. People need to think about it.
Absolutely. I mean, and then, you could have a 20-year policy where it's completely paid off after 20 years. You never owe another dime, but yet that life policy lasts, for as long as they're alive.
I think that's something everybody needs to look into.
Yeah, it is. It's called a 20 pay.
A 20 pay.
It is. I tell you, there are so many different types of policies. You really have to sit down and talk to your agent or, whoever handles your affairs, and talk about where you are and where you want to be. And then we talk about the vehicles that you can get into to kind of help you to get to where you need to be. I have a vision statement on my, it's a huge vision statement on my wall when you walk into my office. Let me help you to map out your financial future. Let me help you. And there are so many products and services to do that.
Let's touch base on retirement plans.
Oh, man.
Since I talked about it briefly, there's so many people out there that don't have any retirement plans set up, and they're waiting for Social Security. They believe it's going to be the miracle. A lot of them, some of them think it's not going to be there. Some of them say, hey, it should be enough for me to live. But they don't understand that their check is going to be significantly lower with Social Security than what it is now. So it's almost like I'm living, I'm having a good life, I can take vacation. When I get older, I'm going to put the backpack on and travel. But then you get older and you retire into poverty.
That's a risk that we don't think about often, mortality risk. Outliving your money, right? Who would expect to live? My grandfather, I tell you, is 96 years old.
That's a blessing.
He brought a brand new Cadillac last year.
Wow.
A brand new Cadillac.
He's driving?
Absolutely. My grandfather, I graduated. Yes. I graduated with my grad degree about 6 years ago. My grandfather was at my graduations. It was in Raleigh. He wanted to drive himself there. My dad said, hey, no, you need to ride with me. We're outliving our money because we're not planning properly. So I look at him, and thank God he planned properly. He's on the internet all the time shopping and stuff like that. It's just incredible. But are we prepared for that? We may have money in a 401k and say, hey, even $1 million. What does that mean, though, over the next 20 years? Are you prepared for that? What type of quality of life do you have now, and how are you going to assure that you can continue with that?
I think that's serious, and that's something that everyone needs to ask themselves and think about. And how can we put a plan in place?
That's right.
Let's talk for a minute. Let's talk for just a quick minute about people who have children that might be mentally handicapped or something. I mean, what can you set up when you pass away, or maybe you just want to do it for your child, period, or grandchild, niece, nephew, to make sure that they get a check every month when you pass away? Just real quick, what type of vehicles?
Well, I tell you, I'm a firm believer that if you pass away, you want to make sure that you have life insurance, right? And you want to make sure that you name somebody on there who's going to be responsible for your children, whether they be handicapped or not. So you want to set those things up. How much do you want your children having? Let's make sure that you have that set aside so that they are getting that guaranteed income.
Well, thank you so much, ROSELYN, for coming on the program today. You guys are watching the Community Spotlight. Tune in next week, same time, same place.